John Leguizamo, you are in the Emmy running for Ghetto Klown, and you have been here before. You won for Freak in 1999. You lost Best Variety Special that year to those bastards over at the Tony Awards, but you personally won the Performance Prize. Yeah. So victory is yours. Take us back there. What was that like?
Well, I mean, I was so thrilled to be Emmy nominated because, you know, it was a year, I think, when it flipped from I used to get Ace Awards. Remember the cable Ace Awards back in the day?
Of course. Yeah, sure.
So I got some for Mambo Mouth and I got some for Spikorama, but we weren't eligible for Emmys back in those days, even though it was televised. So this was my first like big TV award thing, and I was up for two, and all of a sudden my name came up and I couldn't hear. All I could hear is like a heartbeat. And my brother hugged me, and I pushed him off. I was like, get off me. I got to talk before the music comes on. I got a lot of people to thank. And I went up there, and it was incredible, man. What an incredible experience.
You ended up beating Chris Rock, George Carlin, Tracy Ullman, and Dennis Miller. Did any of them put a hit on you after that?
Well, that's why the Emmys are so sharp. You know, they got those sharp because they know there's going to be haters.
Now, let's talk about Ghetto Klown here. I think that the most startling thing about the show is your brutal honesty. You know, there's the old phrase, never let them see you in your underwear. Well, you let it all hang out there. This is 2.5 hours of self-flagellation. You say, I screwed up this film job. I got in a fight on the set. I didn't take this role. I really blew it here. And it's excruciating. It makes for great theater, of course, and great viewing experience, but isn't it painful to put it out there?
I got to say, you know, when I started writing it, I didn't realize the consequences or the repercussions of everything I was writing. I was just writing, you know. I was in my man cave right here, and I was writing, and it seemed all great, and it seemed all arty, and it seemed I had a purpose. But then when I first started to put it out, I started to realize how embarrassing it was. I was incredibly embarrassed and felt very humiliated, and I had to push through that. I did feel very embarrassed saying a lot of things that I said, like talking about my breakdown and talking about my performance anxiety and sharing a lot of stuff that I only share with my therapist. But I felt there was a greater good to it. I didn't feel like it wasn't just for self-flagellation or some masochistic thing. I really felt I wanted to inspire especially kids out there. I read this incredible article before I wrote Ghetto Klown saying that 50% of African-American boys drop out of high school and 45% of Latin kids all drop out of high school. And it was a tragedy to me. But I understood because that's the way I kind of felt when I was a kid, was the system it's not for me. It's not part of me. There's no reason for me to be better because I'm not going to be accepted anyway. So why even try? So Ghetto Klown was to show these kids, and I have gone to a lot of schools with it, and I've gone to Rikers Island twice with it, the prison here in New York City, in the high school there, to show them that, look, even somebody who came from where they came from, you could still make it. And it's not easy, and there's a lot of ups and downs, but you can make it. And it's a tribute to mentors. Ghetto Klown is really a tribute to mentors because you can't do it unless somebody taps you on the shoulder and says, you got something worthwhile. You got something to give.
When you go to a family reunion, say 4th of July, whatever, do they all beat you up in the corner? Here he is, get the son of a bitch! Because you really, you know, put your whole family out there in brutally honest ways too.
Yeah, there was a lot of that for a lot of years. There was a lot of that. You know, it would be Christmas or any holiday, everybody would start having a few too many drinks, and I'd be like, what makes you think you can talk about everybody and put grandmother down? You have, and then, you know, it was one person would start, then the whole thing would become sort of like a Who's Afraid of Virginia Leguizamo.
What is, of course, the ghost you're exercising the most is that of your father in this dramatic experience, and it's tough to watch too because you're tough on him. You recall some really, you know, horrible things he would say to you, like walk on the shady side of the street, don't eat dark foods, you got to be a light-skinned Latin, you're never going to make it. And he never thought you were going to make it anyway. He was just putting down your dreams all the time.
Yeah, well, I think my dad was being protective, and my grandparents were being protective. I mean, Latin people weren't making it. They felt like I was just going down a path. It was more protective. I think, than negative. It was just the aspect of being a Latin man in this country at the time. You know, a lot of agents told me that, you know, change your name, stay out of the sun. Everybody was echoing that. Tell them that you're half Italian. They just didn't think Latin people could work. And I was so, like, I couldn't believe it. I was in shock because I grew up in Jackson Heights, Queens, and everybody was Latin. You know, everybody was Dominican, Puerto Rican, Colombian, Mexican, Ecuadorian, Chilean, and we were all Latin. And everybody was black too, so we were all getting along, and everybody was funny and hilarious and had great stories. I was going, how can we not be accepted? I don't get it.
Now, in order to have a good show, you have to exaggerate a little bit some of these questions.
Or tone it down.
Or tone it down, but I want to know about the exaggeration. For example, you mentioned an agent there in the show. You've got a stuttering agent with a cokehead son. I mean, how much of that is dramatic license, shall we say?
All I can say, because I was advised by my lawyer, I had to put everything through my lawyer. Everything is true. I've changed the names.
Oh, okay.
I had to change the names for legal reasons. So I don't want to talk more about it because then I'll reveal too much and I could get into legal battles. So I won't defend that. I will say that, you know, when I'm talking about everything else, like, it did happen. I mean, I'm talking about things that really fights on the sets and stuff that happened, which I'm a lot more to reveal about that because I can't get into lawsuits.
And that's because these people are public personas, right? You have stories about Sean Penn, and you have stories about Pacino and stuff, and those, of course, are really hilarious. Your performance of Pacino, of course, you get a lot of compliments on that. It's really spot on. Have any of that, has this gotten back to any of them about what you tattle?
A little bit. I mean, I think the problem is when it goes through, you know, the telephone thing, it starts to get worse and worse. I think Pacino now thinks that I'm doing something against him, but I'm not. I'm actually blowing up my own spot and saying that I was a cocky, arrogant theater guy, and he was the man. He's still the man. He's one of the greatest actors that I've ever seen. And yeah, he taught me, man. I wanted to show off for him, and I was too much. I was just all in his face, and the poor man had to deal with a young whippersnapper.
Now, because this is originally, like a few other of your pieces, a stage performance, I was always dying to know this about the show. Does anybody else ever perform it? Does it become a stage performance enacted by someone else in the way that you could buy the theatrical rights to My Fair Lady or something?
Yeah, you know, it's harder with Freak and Ghetto Klown, but they do Mambo Mouth in schools and high schools. I get lots of requests to do it in high schools and colleges, and kids use it for competitions, auditions, dissertations, thesis. So I'm really proud that it's got a life after this.
Now, John, you're going to turn 50 next month.
Nice. Half century.
Can you still do the House of Buggin' dance?
I can't do the House of Buggin' dance, but I can do the ones I do in Ghetto Klown. I had to modify my dancing because, you know, you get old, everything gets creaky, everything hurts.
Now, I know that you've always been in search of the 5 people who watched House of Buggin'. Well, I'm one of them. I don't know if you've met the other 4, but I'm actually one of them.
And you admit it. That's brave of you.
I actually rewatched a couple of the episodes recently, like the fertility clinic one and some of the others. You know, you're one sick, twisted dude.
That is for sure. No doubt.
Now, the greatest performance of your career, of course, was Chi-Chi in Wu Fong. And you were nominated at the Golden Globes for that. You lost to Brad Pitt, and I'm sure you're very glad that I'm here to remind you of all your award losses. But
yeah, thanks. It's kind of like a backhanded compliment every single time.
It's okay to lose to Brad Pitt. And let's face it, John, you were in the wrong category. You should have been in Best Actress, right?
Right. I was pretty feminine in that little vehicle. It was a beautiful, and you know, Patrick Swayze was also nominated. The two of us were nominated in the same category.
Right. But that was heroic for you. I mean, it's one thing to do such a flamboyant drag role today and make it serious and make it sympathetic. You were doing it, what was that, 17, 18 years ago. That's pretty impressive. Did you have any misgivings about it at the time?
Oh, yeah, everybody did. You know, everybody had to really question it, going, is this going to be great for our careers? You had Patrick Swayze he was a hunk, one of those leading men types, and then you had an action star like Wesley Snipes, and everybody had a little reservation about it. Yeah, it was early on before it was okay to be to do cross dressing and all that stuff. But I had already started doing that in my one man shows in Mambo Mouth. Nobody had done it for years since Flip Wilson. And it'd been a long time since comedians were doing female drag, and I started doing it, and everybody started doing it after that.
And that movie still holds up, I think. I haven't seen it in a few years, but I remember it being so contemporary and hip then that I'm sure it doesn't seem dated today.
They used Chichi Rodriguez, the character I played, became a sort of an icon for LGBT, for kids who are wanting to change gender.
Wow, that's great. Back to Ghetto Klown for a second. You know what the most poignant thing there for me was? The revelation about your buddy that you took along for the ride all along your career, who then turns on you and demands, what is it, a third of your takes or half of it, just not seeming to understand how generous you were being to him, that you wanted him to go for the ride. Anyway, and not understanding what his place and all that. That's how brutally honest that thing is, and I was very touched by that. It had to be hard.
I mean, that was kind of hard to. I mean, it was a very difficult time in my life because I felt really betrayed, and I lost real trust in people. I had to go to a lot of therapy to get over that, because I didn't trust anybody anymore after that. I just felt like everybody's untrustworthy. No one's on your side, and I had to get over that. It was a big blow, sort of philosophically and emotionally for me. But I think that's what showbiz does. I mean, showbiz does test character, and character will be tested, and some people don't pass the test. They just don't. All they see is fame and money and opportunity, and you're sort of a rung in the ladder. And unfortunately, well, I don't talk to him anymore. And I don't know if I might be able to talk to him. I can forgive. I just can't forget.
Right. How easy or hard is it for you to get these shows on? And I'm talking about your one-man shows, your confessional kind of biographical shows, to get those on. Is it, when you're done with a new one, does the world just say to you, yeah, here, have this Broadway house? HBO says, sure, let's film this. Or do you really have to get out each time and resell it and push it out there again?
I think there's always, it's not, definitely, it hasn't been as hard as I thought it would be, like it is trying to make movies. It's not as hard as that. Definitely, I've had a really loyal following across the country, Texas and California, Florida, Boston, Chicago. I mean, there's such a huge love for theater in those places. There's such a huge Latin population in those areas, and they're big fans, man, and they love to see somebody sharing their experience with them, and they'll pay those big dollars, and they come out in big numbers. So that's been a beautiful thing. I definitely, like when I did Sexaholics, it was a little difficult because it was such a sexual content, and they were like Broadway. It's very an elegant, avenue, a medium. There's so much sexuality and so dirty, and so I had to convince a lot of people. Yeah, I thought Ghetto Klown, the difficulty was, it was expensive. There was a lot. It was one of my most expensive shows because I used so much mixed media, and it became very expensive to get a James Brown song, to get an Al Green song, to get all the clips. So I had to raise over $2 million for Broadway, and that got a little difficult.
Wow, a one-man show cost $2 million?
Right.
Jeez.
And to run it was really expensive too, because I had, over 3,000 cues, and so I had to have, a special light person. I had to have a special sound person. I had a special slide person. There was a big crew for a small one-person show.
So you are a producer as well of these shows, right? So if this makes it into the lineup for Best Variety Special at the Emmys, you'll be nominated there, right?
The one-man show got taken out of the variety section. We've been put in a different section. I can't recall the term of it right now. But one great thing is I was eligible for writing, so that was new for me. That was great. Because all my other shows, because it has to be originally written for that medium. But I've made so many changes from the Broadway version to the HBO version that it's really almost a different show.
Oh, okay, that's cool. And they got rid of the category that you won in '99. That performance in a variety special is gone.
It's gone.
So you win. Yeah, you win though as a performer if the show wins. It's like uh, if somebody hosted the Oscars, right? They would win that same award that you won. But now the only way they win that is if the Oscars win Best Variety Special. It's really screwed up. They need to bring that category back that you won back then because I don't think the performers get their due otherwise.
They don't. They don't. I mean, it happens on Broadway too. When I did Freak on Broadway, there wasn't a category for one-man shows. I had to compete with the regular plays, and it gets tough competing with regular actors, you know, because they have so much more production value, have a big cast. It's a different beast, and it needs to be treated as such. So, and then after I did Freak, they came up with a one-man show category, and then just when I did Ghetto Klown, they took it away that year. They saw me coming. It's like, okay, God is about to do a show. Let's make it as hard as possible for him to win.
Oh, we'll put that in your next show and get revenge on them, right? Okay, well, thank you, John. Good luck at the Emmys. We're rooting for you to do it again. You certainly deserve it. You're making the ultimate sacrifice that artists and creators are supposed to do. You're putting yourself on the altar there, and obviously it's working.
Well, thank you, man. Great talking to you. I'm a big admirer of your work.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.